Hey guys, Jeff here with Passive Income Unlocked. So in this video, I'm going to walk you step by step through the process that I take to give a post the best shot of ranking organically in Google search. So to do that, we're going to go over to passiveincomeunlocked.com. I'm going to take you into WordPress. We'll open up a post or two. I'm going to show you everything that I do to make that post as attractive as possible to both Google and your visitors. So with that being said, let's hop over to my computer and get started. Alright guys, so we're over on passiveincomeunlocked.com. We're in WordPress on the back end, and basically I have a couple of my posts open here. I'm just going to walk you through some examples, things that I've done to optimize these posts, give you some recommendations on things that I haven't done. I just want to point out that with passiveincomeunlocked.com, my goal isn't to rank organically in Google search, so I treat these posts a little bit differently than what I'm going to teach you. I'm more or less writing for the YouTube audience at this point in time because these terms are actually pretty competitive. But nonetheless, I'll show you what you should be doing on a niche site where you're going after less competitive terms. And also, I'm going to go off the top of my head here and just kind of rattle down these optimizations. That's typically how I do it. I do have a list in front of me. I'll refer to it as I kind of forget what I'm trying to point out here. But as you do this over time, you write post after post, you won't really be thinking about these things anymore. They just become second nature. And it'll be very simple. It'll be ingrained in the back of your mind. And as you're writing, you'll just do these optimizations without thinking about it. So as far as those optimizations, the first one that you want to go after would be the headline. So right at the top here, you want that title to be something that will grab the user's attention or the visitor's attention in Google search. So the idea is basically to leapfrog your competitors in Google search. So maybe your competitors are ranking 1, 2, 3, and you're down on maybe 5, 6, 7, somewhere in that range. If you have a better headline than those people, some people will click your title, and if your article's on point, over time you'll actually rank up as a result. So I have an article obviously right here. It's a pretty long article, about 2,500 words. I have a video on YouTube as well that not a lot of people have watched for whatever reason, so definitely check those out. I have a lot of tips in there, actual step-by-step examples on how to optimize your headlines. So aside from just working your keyword in there, I have some tips on how to make those headlines a little bit more clickable, so definitely check that out. Aside from that, next thing I'll point out is you want to work your keyword into your URL slug. So that's what's over here. So typically any article I write, the URL slug is the keyword, and it's shortened. You can take words like a or the out like that. So like in this example, maybe the keyword should be how to write a good article. So the URL slug would be how to write good article, right? So that's what your URL slug would be. Then the permalink, so the actual full URL here, would be passiveincomeunlocked.com/how-to-write-good-article in that case. And that's what you want it to be. You don't want your full URL to contain dates or anything like that. You want it to be as short as possible, just the site and the keyword, and that's it. So working our way down here from the headline, ideally what you want to do is work a keyword or maybe keyword and some variations early on in your article. So again, in this one, it would be how to write a good headline. Again, I wasn't trying to do that with this article. I just write naturally. So just kind of glancing at it, I was looking at it before I started filming here, so writing a great headline would be one variation. Here's another one, writing a great title, or writing great title for your article, should say. So there's another one. Let's see, a great headline. There's another variation. Benefits of optimizing your post headlines. Optimize your article's headlines. So as you can see, I worked in quite a few variations in here, and I just did this naturally. I don't at all try to put keywords in my articles anymore. I have a keyword that I'm targeting, but really I'm just using that as a topic, and I just write off of that whatever comes naturally. And whenever we outsource content, we do the same thing. We don't tell anyone to put keywords in there. I've even had times where people will send me articles where they're clearly trying to work the keyword in, and I take a lot of those keywords out, or I change them into variations because it's just overdoing it, and you can tell that it's forced. You definitely don't want to force your keywords in there. You don't want to do any keyword stuffing. Just write naturally. If you write naturally, you're going to use variations on that keyword, and that's going to be your best case scenario anyways. So especially if you're writing yourself. So again, kind of working from the top down here. What you want to do early on in an article is work in a personal anecdote if you can. Try to write first person if you can. If you can put in a personal story in there that can get the user's attention, the visitor's attention, and they'll want to keep reading about whatever's in your post. If you can't, just try to do something that can really grab that attention and just keep them going. That's the main thing. You want to keep them reading. So after you get down from there, one thing I can point out as well, keep your paragraph short. Back when I was in high school, maybe in college, I don't remember, but I remember that I would write paragraphs that were multiple sentences or several sentences long, and that was what we were taught. That's how you were supposed to write. When you're writing online for the web, a little bit different. You want to actually keep your paragraphs very, very short. So 1 to 3 sentences is probably what you should be aiming for. It's a lot more scannable that way, a lot easier to just browse and read really quickly. And that's another point. You do want your article to be very scannable. We'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, aside from just keeping it short to make it easier to read, if you keep your paragraphs short, it allows for more ad placements, which means that down the road when you add advertisements to your site, so display ads, you can actually make more money because you have more placements for ads. You can get more ads on your page. So that's probably the biggest reason to keep your paragraphs short, but it is a lot easier to read online with short paragraphs as well. So just scrolling down, I mentioned you want to make your article scannable. So a good way to do that is to work in headlines, or sorry, not headlines, but headings and subheadings. So a heading would be like this here. So this is an H2 tag. Why writing a great headline is so important. And with your headers, you want to work in keywords as well. You don't want to get too fancy with your headings. You want to just actually try to work in keywords. Just keep them really, really simple. It's easier for Google to understand what your page is about, and they really do pay attention to those headings. So H2s, H3s. If I'll scroll up here, so this is your H1. So the title of your page, that's H1, and then you have an H2 here. And under your H2s, you have H3s. So I have another H2 here, how to optimize your article's headlines. And then these are H3s. So use adjectives, use numbers, opt for odd numbers, and so on. So these are H3s. So that's how you want to structure your page, and it makes it easier for Google to understand your content. So we just scroll up a little bit. Next thing I'll point out would be images. So you want to add images to your posts. I'll cover that in more depth in a different video. But adding, and maybe you'll see that before this one's posted. I don't know, because I actually recorded it already. But anyways, so you want to add, ideally what I do is add an image or 3 to 4 images per 1,000 words. But it really depends on the type of content. So if it's an article like this, where it's just general information, this is kind of how I do it. I'll just kind of scroll down and say, okay, I need a video or an image somewhere in this general area. So I'll find a good spot for one, then I'll scroll down a little bit further. I need another one right here. Scroll down a little further, another one right here, and I'll just work it into good spots like that to break up the text. It makes it easier for the visitor to not lose their focus, keeps their interest, right? So that's what you want to do. If it's something that's more step-by-step, you might need an image per step, or for most of the steps, so it's a little bit different. It's really going to be based on the type of content that you have. But going back to the images here, you want to make your images something that pop out, actually improve the article, not just something that's just there to be there. So an example of an image that's just there to be there, in this case, would be the featured image. So as you can see, it's a person typing. Pretty boring, nothing interesting about it. But for me, the featured image isn't actually the most important image. It's the ones that are within the post. And so like as you can see, this one's a lot better image, make things better for how to optimize your article headlines. Make it a fact, fake fact. So this is a good image that's going to get attention. Add an exclamation point. So these are the types of images that I like to add to my posts. It just kind of makes it a little bit more interesting, jumps out at the user, gets their attention. As far as images go, actually let me go over this other article here. So I have some good ones here as well. Another boring one there for you. So this is a really good one. So is there a good, in this article, let me show you what the title is real quick. Key factors of choosing the perfect niche for your website. And back to titles, I like to work in titles, or numbers into the titles as well. That's something that will grab people's attention a lot. As you can see that in the other article there. But anyways, this would be an example of a really good picture that actually improves the article. So is there a good sub-niche within a niche, and you have your nesting dolls there. Then another good example would be using screenshots like this. See if I have any. So screenshots. So screenshots really can help to emphasize points. So that's something you want to do as well, obviously. And as far as optimizing your images, that's also important. You want to make your pages load as fast as possible. So some things you can do in that regard. Google really likes WebP right now as far as the format, so you can look into that. You want to resize your images to fit the container of your post or your page, and that's going to be dependent on your theme. You want to compress your images. Ideally, you want to serve them from a CDN, which is a content delivery network. And basically the way that works is, let's say you have somebody in Australia or Iceland or wherever, right? And they're visiting your site, but your site is hosted on a server in New York or, Los Angeles or something like that. Instead of having to go all the way across the world to get that image, to get the resources on your site, it can load from a server that's located in those countries or closer to those countries, which means it loads faster for those visitors. So that's basically how a content delivery network works. Cloudflare's got a free version that I definitely recommend checking out. We use it on all of our sites. But anyways, I'll get into that in a different video, but that's definitely something you want to do, not just for your images, but for any static resource on your site to help it load more quickly. Let's see, aside from images, another thing you can do with images would be adding infographics, charts, things like that. Images are very, very shareable. So if you want to get your article out there in front of more people, you can have unique images you've taken yourself that can really help in getting your articles shared, right? All right, so aside from that, let's see, what am I missing here? So spelling and grammar, that's another one. So if you're not English speaking, but you're trying to write to an English speaking audience, you can use something like Grammarly. I've never used it, so I don't know a lot about it, but I know that a lot of people do use Grammarly. But you can use sites like that to check your spelling and grammar. Even just like a word editor like Word, Microsoft Word. There's free versions as well, like LibreOffice Writer. That's a free version. You can use Google Docs. You can use the editor right in WordPress. That'll highlight misspellings for you as well. But it's important that you get the spelling and grammar correct and accurate as possible if you want your site to rank well, and if you want your site to be received well by visitors in the country that you're targeting. So those are important as well. Another thing that you want to look for, or you want to do, I should say, to optimize your posts is add links, internal and external links. So let me see if I think I have some in this post here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. So this is an external link. I'm going to trends.google.com, and I got a couple here, hrefs, and so on. So these are external links, and basically what external links can do for you, because a lot of people don't like to link out to other sites, but they can actually, it's been shown that it actually helps Google understand your page better, which can lead to your article ranking better over time. So it's actually important to rank out to resources that provide value, that are related to the content you're writing about. So anytime you're stating a fact or trying to get a point across, you should definitely link to those external resources. When you do, make sure that you have it open in a new tab like this, because the last thing you want to do is just send that user to a different site and they've lost your site. Because a lot of people don't know how to navigate the web enough to hit the back button to get back to your site. So have it open in a new tab so they still have your site open and they can view that resource on the other tab. If you're doing internal links, which I don't think I have any internal links in these articles yet, I don't really have enough posts on the site yet to put a lot of internal links. I haven't really taken time to do that yet. That's very important to do, especially after you've produced a lot of content on your site. Basically point your articles at each other, just where it makes sense. Don't overdo it. Just kind of point those articles at relevant articles. But when you do that, you probably don't want to open it in a new tab. You can if you want. It's not as big of a deal for internal links, but definitely for external links, open in a new tab. So, all right, so I'm going to refer to my list here because I think I'm kind of running out of ideas. So, okay, categories and tags. So let's go over that real quick. So categories and tags. So over here under post and WordPress, you're going to see categories right here, then tags right here. So categories are typically going to be menu items that you have across the top of your page. Those are definitely important for making it easier for your users to navigate your page. They should help Google figure out what your content's about as well. And I don't know how much they use categories, to be honest with you, but either way, it definitely helps to categorize your content. It's easier for your visitors, so that's important anyways. You want to try to keep your categories simple. We only use a handful, usually like 4 or 5 per site. It depends on the site and how it's really broken out. But it's going to depend on the type of content you have and how many posts you have. As far as tags are concerned, we use tags on a couple sites, and the other sites we don't use them. So tags can be really useful if you have a purpose for them. A lot of times you won't, but let me just give you an example here. So let's say you have a sports site. So if you have a sports site, you're covering all sorts of sports. Your categories at the top of your page, your menu items might be Sports 101, and then you have sports tips and sports nutrition, sports medicine, things like that, right? And then your tags could be the individual sports. So basketball, baseball, football, soccer, hockey, things like that. And that would be a gigantic site, obviously very competitive, but that's how you could use tags. And then there's some things that you can do with tags that are pretty interesting that can drive some traffic to your site in various ways. And I'm going to show you that in a different video. But I do have some tricks to use with tags. Like I said, we only do it with a couple of our sites. Too much for this video, but I'll definitely come back to that. So, but you don't have to use tags. We only use them on a couple sites. They can be useful, but you don't have to have them. Aside from that, let's see, what else can you do here? So talked about that. Word count. So let's talk about word count. So when it comes to word count, so if you look at these two articles here, so this one is about 2,700 words. This one's about 2,500 words. In this case, I just wrote these articles off the top of my head. I just rambled until I was done, and that's what they came out to be. That's the ideal way to write if you're just writing for an audience like YouTube, which is what I'm doing. If you're trying to rank in Google, that is not the ideal way to write. What you want to actually do is look at your competition. So you would open up Google search, look at the competitors, see how long their articles are, and you basically want to write as much as your highest competitor or more. That's what I try to do. We usually try to go, a couple hundred words over the highest competitor, unless that highest competitor is being ridiculous and they wrote like a 5,000 word article on something that really only needs, 1,200 words. So you kind of have to look at that as well. Like what's the search query that you're actually targeting? Does it actually need 3,000 words, or does it actually make more sense to have a 1,500 word article? You have to keep that in mind as well. There's a lot of variables. But either way, you don't want to just write off the top of your head like I'm doing in this case, unless you're writing with no intent of ranking in Google search, which is the case for me, like I said. All right, so aside from that, let's see, use a responsive theme. That's another one that you can do to help you rank. So, and this is basically, it's going to improve the user experience for your visitors. So use a theme that is mobile friendly. So you're going to see the term responsive out there. And most themes these days are responsive, so it's not really difficult to find one. And there's a lot of free themes in WordPress that are responsive. So just look for the word responsive or mobile friendly. Basically, what that means is it's going to display correctly across different devices. So whether you're on a desktop computer, tablet, a phone, different browsers, different, an Apple versus Windows or whatever, it's going to display similarly, and it's going to look good to the user. So that's definitely important. Use social share buttons. So let's just open up one of these posts here. I'll show you what I mean for that. So if we open this up here, so social share icons over here, and this site, Passive Income Unlocked, I use the ones that are built into the theme. So I use Contentberg. You can find that it's under my go-to tools and resources up here. But the Contentberg has this built in here, and it's also at the bottom, so it's sticky to the side here. You also see that you have the pin it button pop up automatically, so I definitely like that. And as you get to the bottom of the post, you'll see that there's more social share buttons as well, right here. But on our other sites, and even though we use the same theme, we actually replace this and we use Grow.me, which is a little bit more effective, and that's managed by Mediavine now, which is our ad provider. It's a little bit more effective. It pops out a little bit more, gets your attention, a lot bigger, colorful buttons. But again, I have a different purpose with PassiveIncomeUnlocked.com, so I set the site up a little bit differently. But I would recommend probably going with, I think it's called it's called Grow Social. Grow.me something different. It's called Grow Social, I believe. It's a WordPress plugin, and Mediavine took it over. It was built by a different company before. But anyways, that's a really good one. It'll show some really bright, colorful, big buttons on your screen at the top. You can have them stick to the side, whatever you want to do, and you can get a lot of social shares that way. So that's important as well to get your content out there. Aside from that, last couple things that I'll just point out here is, as far as being important for optimizing your post to rank organically in Google search and also satisfy your visitors, is one, stay on point. So, and this is important if you're outsourcing content as well. The last thing you want to do is write a 2,000 word post and just cover everything that you need to cover within the first two paragraphs and just go write about random things after that. As much as possible, stick to the main keyword that you're trying to target. So in this case over here, how to write a perfect headline. If you read this post, this entire 2,500 word article is about writing a headline. This one over here, same thing. So choosing the perfect niche. This entire 2,500 word or 2,700 word article is about choosing a niche. That's what you need to do. There's obviously some tangents that you can go down that are related. That's fine. But you need to really try to stick to that main keyword as much as possible. Stay on topic. That's really important. And I was talking about word count earlier, and it's really not the number of words that matters for helping you rank. It's just the number of words that are actually on point that's going to help you. The more you write about that actual keyword, that's what's going to help you. It's going to help you rank for variations on that keyword as well. So that's what's actually important. It's not the word count. It's producing as much content as possible about that topic that you're targeting and the related topics that you're targeting. Okay. The last point that I will make about this is to just create the best resource for your users. So that is literally the most important thing you can do, and it's basically along the same lines of what I just said. So all the things that I just talked about, getting your headline optimized, your images, short paragraphs, getting internal, external links, getting the URL structure correct, all those things, they're all really important. And if you just wrap them all up and put a bow on it, what you're trying to do is create the best possible resource for your users. That is what's going to help you rank the best. That's what's going to satisfy your users the best. That is the most important thing you can do. So if you check off all those little boxes, that is your goal at the end of the day, to create the best possible resource on the internet for that topic. All right, guys, so that wraps up this video. I know I covered a lot of little things in this one, but if you're really good about paying attention to the details and checking off as many of those boxes as possible, it can have a snowball effect as you post more and more articles, and it can really pay off at the end of the day. So if you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up, hit that bell icon if you want to be notified of future videos, and head over to passiveincomeunlocked.com if you want more tips for growing your blog. Thanks as always for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.